Good morning. This meeting is being held in accordance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. The news media has been notified, and a copy of the agenda has been made available to the public. And for the record, this is Governance Committee meeting. Dr. Ivy, will you please confirm the record of attendance?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, we have yourself physically present, Ms. Rauschenbach is physically present, Mr. Thompson is not present but sends his regards. Mr. Kelly, our ex officio representative, is physically present. Ms. Douglas from Academic Committee is joining today as a guest to support one of our presentations that this committee is going to be receiving. Mr. Shaw is also joining on the staff side. You also, if I did not say Ms. Rauschenbach is here physically, I don't think I said that, but I have a check mark. So you have a quorum of the committee.
Wonderful. So this meeting is now called to order, and thank you all for being here today and for your continued commitment to our work. And I've already asked Ms. Douglas if she would be willing to give the invocation today.
No problem. Let us bow our heads. Father God, it's once again that we come before you with our heads bowed before your grace, before your throne, asking for your grace and your guidance. Lord, as we work today, we ask that you keep the children in the forefront of our mind and make sure that we are making great decisions that will positively affect their future. And Lord, we just ask that you continue to bless us, guide us, and keep us. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will read the mission statement. The Liberty STEAM Charter works to provide all students with equal access to a world-class K-12 education in an academically rigorous and student-centered learning environment, creating graduates who will be thoughtful and engaged citizens prepared to take on the leadership challenges of the 21st century. Ms. Rauschenbach, will you please read the vision statement?
Gladly. In partnership with our families and community, our vision is to provide real-world, interdisciplinary, personalized, and project-based learning experiences through a STEAM-based academic program where graduates become the next generation of leaders, employers, and employees who contribute to the economic well-being of their communities and their families.
Thank you. If there are no objections to approval of the consent agenda, the minutes from the previous meeting and today's meeting agenda stand approved. And I think, Dr. Ivy, if you would please, I invite you now to lead the discussion and execute the topics for discussion scheduled for today's meeting.
Yes, according to your agenda, in collaboration with Ms. Chandler to look at how we're allocating our time today, it's jam-packed, and so we want to give you, if you will, first reading of the proposed changes to our grading manual, best practices grading manual. I'm going to run through some of those changes. It is codified in policy, so we will just be asking the board for final input today and at the Monday full board meeting, but it will be as a recommendation from the staff at the March board meeting. So we'll do that first. Then we want to move into an action item to look at the board election timeline. Hard to believe that we're already at that part of the year. Remember, this is an annual thing, and so every January we always bring to you to accept. No approval is needed. We just need you to formally accept the proposed board elections timeline. And then we're going to be moving into the Executive Directors Academy Best Practices Task Force. And that is why Mrs. Douglas is joining one of our leader fellows, Mr. Butler, who is here today to give a presentation on athletics rollout. We'll then move into some rapid fire updates on all things related to mid-year organizational goals to progress, just like our scholars received a report card just a few weeks ago and our parents received theirs, but organization has received their report card. So we do want to bring all of that data for your analysis, and then we'll end with feedback on succession plan and documentation that has already been shared. All right, if that sounds good, we're going to jump right into the grading policy updates. So you had access I think it's best just to frame this from, you've had access to all of the documentation. Academics has had jurisdiction over this, and so Academic Committee received a formal presentation from Dr. McDonald, our leader fellow, who has led the charge from the staff. This presentation that you received in your board e-meeting packet is the reflection of a couple of months worth of data collection, starting with parent survey, teacher survey, teacher focus group, and so forth. There are not major changes that we're proposing. As with any policy document, there are some cleanup that is annually needed to be done, but we don't want to wait until the month of June, which is really when we bring you all of the annual policy updates. And so the changes that you will see that are being recommended are really in twofold. One is on homework and one is on the grading floor, if you will. And so the homework, we are shifting, and you can see all of the data that's been collected from the parents, teachers, and so forth, how we can streamline homework expectations. We've consistently gotten the feedback from parents, hey, Liberty has a longer school day. It is a lot to come home and to have homework from 5 to 7, you know, that sort of thing. Knowing that roughly half of our scholars are picked up, not by their parent, but by a after-school daycare or HITE or other after-school program. And so thinking about this into 3 buckets, overwhelmingly our primary academy is going to keep pretty much things as usual with their homework expectations. There'll be a menu board that's given on Monday and it is due at the end of the week, but the focus is going to be tied to math fluency. So that's our shift, right? So it's not just pick and choose, this is what the teacher says I want to do on Monday. The grade level will have a consistent focus on math fluency. We have several years of data, you know, whether it's adding, subtracting, times tables, and think about it in fluency components. And so it's not just a you pick and do this and it be done. It has to be tied to math fluency. And so that would be for primary academy. When you move into the elementary academy, it is the same. And so the same focus for math fluency and so forth. The shift is when you get to middle school, because we'll have 6th grade next year. The policy guidance right now is just that we follow our 10-minute guideline, so that knowing that Pierce and all of his peers are going to have more than one teacher next year, you have to have consistency. So there is some guidance in terms of it has to be consistent in terms of the minute allocation. So there cannot be any more than 70 minutes of homework per night. And so what we are moving towards, and this is the next step, but it will not be reflected in policy. It's going to be on the school side that we will monitor whether math is going to be on Mondays, reading is going to be on, our ELA is going to be on Tuesdays, to try to give some sort of, you know, guidance to the scholar and the parent. But we decided not to put that in the policy. We just want to stick with the, hey, no more than 70 minutes. And so as that homework is approved by the GTL, the grade team leader for the grade level, and then the manager for that grade level, it would follow that bare minimum guidance. So that's for homework. So overwhelming parents approve. Now, the other shift to this is that there will be a penalty starting in 6th grade for homework not being completed, right? So you think about it from K through 5, the focus is on fluency. Read. We're going to be pivoting to accelerated reader next year. It's going to electronically track the number of words scholars are reading. And so it's not, you got to do these 10 problem sets in 2nd grade and you got 8 out of 10, so you get an 80 in the grade book, right? It is a menu board choice, front of the week, due at the end of the week. So the idea with the middle school penalty, because it's already in the board approved policy that 10% of homework, 10% of a scholar's grade in middle school is going to be tied to homework. So we're just beefing it up. And so if it's not done, there would be a penalty of 10%. So it's not graded based on content accuracy, it's graded based on completion, right? So we don't, I think to wrap all this up, we don't want to put so much emphasis on you got to get it done, it's got to be right, it's got to, because that homework is building up over the course of the week or towards a project completion in middle school. Questions on the homework, that's a big piece on the homework side. So really the only change on that, and it's already board approved from the current policy, is that, we will be affirming that homework has to be counted 10% of a scholar's grade beginning in 6th grade. Right now, that is not the case, because we have our grading policy shifted, or broken up into K-5, and now 6 through 8, and then 9 through 12. Ms. Douglas, you want to add anything from the academic side?
Well,
from the
I
academic
was the
side?
president at the last meeting, however, I love the idea, I think it's great. However, I don't want it to be said that it's graded for completion, not accuracy. Like, I want them to be intentional about doing it and trying to at least get them right. Does that make sense?
Quality over quantity.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I agree.
Okay. I don't know if we can word that differently, 'cause we have some kids that just go and write anything to say they completed it, but I want them to be intentional about doing it, because that's the point of it.
Right, but it's
It's
for the
for the
effort.
extra work, especially with math.
And I think there's an actual question in the survey, I don't have the actual question in front of me, but it is, the philosophy on penalty and that sort of thing. It's tied to the growth mindset core value of, if it's not done, your 10% can actually hold you back from getting the A, right? Getting or being on the honor roll. Like if you don't do homework at all, you're not gonna have a shot at A honor roll. And so that was the discussion from that collaboration committee. But we can definitely make sure, I don't think it says it in the policy, hey, it's just graded, you get a free 10% if you just
We don't
turn
wanna
it
say
in.
that, we do not
I
wanna say that.
don't think it says that exactly, but I think that's
We don't wanna
the
even mention it.
conversation from the,
I agree.
that it's not taken up and the teacher has to grade homework every night that it's given. I think that's where we're not putting that piece in the policy.
Yeah, I'm just scared the kids are gonna hear
Mhm.
it's not graded, and then they miss the big picture of why homework is important to get that extra help, so that you get the other 90% towards the honor roll. I think they'll just scribble in something to turn in for the 10%.
We'll capture that as an action step to make sure the language is broad,
Mhm.
and not, specific, in terms of
Of
it
course,
not
that's a
being.
parent expectation too, because it's,
Mhm.
especially at the lower level, it's the parents that are helping
Yeah,
Mhm.
reinforce. So parents need to understand how this is tied back to
absolutely.
scholar success.
Mhm.
The other piece of the grading, we are already shifting to common formative assessments next year. We are doing something called an interim assessment, which would be not teacher designed, it would be designed at the network level. Think of it as an end of quarter test, but it would be 20% of it would be a major grade for a scholar. And so you'll see in the document more clarity around what's a major versus what's a minor. And so that would be non-negotiable. And that really is an opportunity for us to assess scholars across the whole grade level of who's not mastered the content over a 45-day period. The last piece is the proposal and this has caused great conversation in previous years. But right now, our grading policy for kinder through 5th grade has a floor of a 60. Is the lowest grade that a scholar can receive. And so 2 years ago, the committee that first started this document, did approve K-5, there being a grading floor, but hey, starting in 6th grade, there is no grading floor. And so with approval of this at the March meeting, the school would then weigh a lot more on the retake opportunity, which we don't do a lot of that right now. It's in the policy, but we don't emphasize that to scholars a lot. Hey, you can retake this, you haven't mastered it yet. That's gonna come when we switch we're starting Mastery Connect. Scholars will be able to see red, yellow, green, they have a dashboard of where they're at. And so we would be recommending that there not be a floor, and a scholar does earn the grade that they earn. So that is a 15.
And that would be all grades?
That would be starting in grade 6.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, this idea of growth mindset, right? You're making the switch from 5th grade to 6th grade is a big jump. We're moving from being a coach to a consultant, and then in high school, we would be the manager, right? Coach of their team, if you will, would be their consultant and then manager. And then the other items that are on the screen are just some minor edits, cleanup, new guidance from the state. For example, third grade has a minimum cut score for reading that a scholar has to attend summer reading camp in order to be given the opportunity to have another at-bat to pass the assessment to move to fourth grade. That now is net required by the state in first grade. So you're gonna see our numbers go up for Summer Pride, what we call our summer school. All right. So again, that's just information today. We would be asking for approval at the March meeting. All right. Board election timeline. Again, we're just asking for acceptance. No need to weigh in because a lot of this is, or all of it really is, grounded in our bylaws or already issued in state guidance. We will be asking the Public Charter Alliance, we've already started the conversations with them to oversee our annual election. They have done that historically. If you are new to why we do that, because we can conduct our own election, there are schools that do it, but just given the, we are Sumter's only charter school right now, and every year we have to clarify who can vote and who can't vote, and to honor the integrity of the election, we just have an outside group that does it, and so they do the oversight piece. We just implement the timeline. And so Liberty goes above and beyond. A lot of these things we don't have to do. We are required to do filing period, put your profiles out, send a ballot out, and then the winners, if you will. We go above and beyond in terms of a candidate forum, a lot of social media promotion, a lot of internal promotion. And so this year we do have 3 seats up on the elected side. We have Dr. Newton's seat, Mrs. Knopf's seat, Mrs. Rauschenbach's seat. And then on the appointed side, it would be Mr. Thompson's seat and Miss Davis's seat on the appointed side. So Ms. Hanson, as part of our succession planning, we're cross-training. Ms. Hanson is going to be overseeing our board election process this year. So I'll be working closely with her. But like I said, we've already had a couple of meetings with Public Charter Alliance, and they're ready to execute.
Dr. How do you feel about the participation in terms of the votes cast in the last election, and is there room for improvement there?
Yeah, there is room. Great question. In our first year, the Charter Alliance actually said, hey, wow, you all have had the highest election turnout ever from the Charter Alliance, which by law, they have to oversee a school's first election. But after the first election, you can do your own election. 88% turnout, if you will. We did the I voted stickers, we did all of that. There is room for improvement. I don't have the number right off the top of my head, but it was something around 40-ish%, 50. It wasn't even half of the ballots were counted, or not counted, cast.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's room for improvement. All we are responsible for doing, and we could chat more about other ideas, but we put it in our newsletter. We announce it on social media, but there's no campaigning that can happen on campus. We just have that's why we do the Meet the Candidates Forum. Good question. Our first year we did it as a volunteer hour. I think they got a volunteer.
Right.
If they came to the forum, they got a volunteer hour. And then not every year we've done a forum because we don't have enough people.
If you're more candidates and seniors.
Right, yeah, I guess there's
It's
the
contested.
the flip side of that is, lower participation in this case could mean that everyone is satisfied with the direction things are going, there's no contention, there's no, if that's the challenge is, a lot of times your turnout is driven by, if you have confrontation or, you've got sides that are formed, and if that's not the case, then people may see it as, it's not a necessary thing for me to hit
Good question. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. We have Dexter Butler here, who is one of our leader fellows, and part of his role responsibility this year is investing 20% of his time, if you will, into all things athletics. And so he is going to give just a sneak peek, because this will not be the first and only conversation. His task is to present to you what we have been doing to beef up our athletic offerings and what are some ideas to be considering, but he will return to this committee in the future. All right, Mr. Butler.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, so the first thing I want to start with, I thank you all for letting me be a part of this. I'm honored, and I definitely want to make sure that I get across the urgency of athletics here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to read this. On my cover, it says, "A well-designed athletics program is not an extracurricular expense. It is an investment in student engagement, leadership, and school culture." And we look at athletics as a gateway into a whole other world for a lot of our scholars. As we see, the other middle and high schools in this area, sports is a very big deal. And I want to make sure that we understand here as well and advocate as well, so that we can do the same. So the first thing is our vision. It says Liberty STEAM Charter envisions a comprehensive mission-aligned athletics program that expands scholar opportunities beyond the classroom, strengthens school culture and belonging, and grows intentionally alongside the school, preparing scholars to thrive as leaders, teammates, and citizens. And sports instills those things in our scholars. So why sports? Scholar engagement, belonging, and retention, leadership and discipline. All of those things are definitely in alignment with what Liberty, the South Carolina profile for a student, what Liberty has for a student as well. And also definitely strengthen family and community engagement. So my next question is, does Liberty have a future of athletics? So as we look at these pictures that I have, these are just within the past year of the many different things that we've done, the different partnerships that we formed with different entities in the community. And you can just see the look on their faces. You can see the crowd that we have. Athletics is definitely one of the biggest things that our scholars look forward to. So, of course, we have two options. We can go yes or no with athletics. So, with no, our plan basically looks like what we do now. We offer extracurricular club opportunities, enrichment opportunities for our scholars. But what I'm going to dive into is the yes. So I'm going to, if you just bear with me for the next few minutes, I'm going to just talk about the different things or the plan that we could possibly have as we enter into that. So our current offerings right now, we have flag football with Sumter Parks and Rec, and next level athletics, soccer with Sumter Parks and Rec, basketball, baseball, and softball with Sumter Parks and Rec. We also just formed a new partnership with Ballers World, and we also have a new partnership with Trinity United Methodist to use their gym for Ballers World basketball. We have our partnership with Sumter Speed and Frozen Elite for track. On the horizon, we have some possible opportunities that may be coming up, especially as our scholars go to 6th grade with flag football. If we look over at next level, they can only go to 5th grade. So I'm already looking into opportunities for our 6th graders. So in 6th grade, we may have the opportunity with Sumter Soccer Club and Frozen Elite, and we also have an option for girls only flag football as well. We're going to start hopefully this spring with a mini enrichment and probably like a mini league with girls flag football to see how it goes, and hopefully we can take it to the next level and have a full season. Excuse me. And also this summer, we may have the opportunity with Sumter Aquatic Center to have swimming club. So what I'm proposing or suggesting, I would say, is a phased athletics rollout plan with the South Carolina High School League. Now that's the governing body that provides structure accountability for interscholastic sports in South Carolina. So what I propose is a phase plan. So phase 1, 2, and 3, we see here. Middle school, we don't have to be on the South Carolina High School League. That's something that we can organize ourselves within the schools in our area. So I'm looking from the data that we have collected from surveys. We saw that some of the major sports that are easily manageable for us and that combined with what the families want. With middle school, we could start with cross country, volleyball, basketball, track and field, baseball, and softball. And as we move into phase 2, we would continue with middle school, but once they get to 8th grade, we may can dabble into the South Carolina High School League with some sports that are able to play varsity in 8th grade. So that may be the opportunity for maybe cross country or track to get an opportunity to do varsity sports as well. And by phase 3, when our class of 33 become 10th graders and beyond, we hope to be a full varsity program with South Carolina High School League. So the financial implications, we understand that the initial costs are going to be a major investment. However, the institutional growth, scholar engagement and retention, all of those things are definitely going to be a benefit to us as we expand, as we try to meet the needs of our scholars here in this community. So to support this phased approach, we'll look at some proposed operational budgets. The first one, if you look at the next page, I just broke this one down a little bit more. This is the phase 1. This is just with just a few high school sports. If we look at the coaching breakdown, some sports could share a head coach and an assistant, like cross country and track. And coaching stipends, these are compared to other schools here in this area. And if we look at that bottom square down there where it says the total budget, that would be the total operational cost for staffing and stipends, uniforms, equipment, facilities, and transportation. Now, if we go to the next page, we can see phase 2 and phase 3. Remember, phase 2 is we're starting to dabble in South Carolina High School League. Phase 3, that's the staffing part definitely goes up because now we have to hire a full-on athletic director. In the middle school section, we can offer a stipend to somebody to head our athletics, but with the high school league, there definitely has to be an athletic director. Also, looking into transportation, we know we don't currently have buses. We would need a way to transport our players. So in this is included like two 10, 15 passenger vans. And in the phase 2, those things are rentals, especially for facilities. But in phase 3, we see that one-time purchase is just to buy one of those. And then we see on the bottom line that operational costs can go down ongoing if we invest in purchasing a vehicle. So to help, if you go to the next page, something that can help most schools, have a booster club. I definitely see the way that our family support show up and show out. PTO is awesome, dads on duty are awesome. They are behind Booster Club and they have expressed that they are, willing to go the extra mile to make sure we have the funding that can help offset some of these operational costs. Of course, they can't handle stipends and coaching salaries, but however, they can help with the other things. Some examples, if you see, grants as well. I pulled a couple examples of some grants that offer specifically startup programs here in South Carolina. The Recreation Land and Water Conservation Fund, they offer specifically competitive grant programs often used by schools and municipalities. And that can also help us as we try to expand and try to, instead of renting facilities, build our own facility. A complex with baseball fields, gym, football field, things like that. So if we go to the next page, we can look at some VIP feedback. So this is through surveys and focus groups that I receive most of this data. And what we heard from the families, they consistently emphasize the importance of planning ahead and express concern about the school waiting until scholars reach competitive ages to make decisions. They want assurance, they want to know that Liberty has a clear, intentional athletics plan in place before scholars reach middle school, rather than reacting once it's too late. The critical point, one of the questions that I asked was, what was the age or the grade level where you felt like you were gonna make a decision to go left or right? Left or right meaning left Liberty, let's switch it, right Liberty, and left somewhere else. So, and that critical point says families identify 6th to 7th grade, so that's literally on the horizon right now. So they identify that as a critical decision point where the absence of school-sponsored athletics begins to influence their enrollment decisions. In a survey that we gathered that 51.9% of families thought that sports would be nice, but it's not a deal breaker. So that leaves 49% of our population who would definitely be up in the air about whether they would like to stay at Liberty. And the last thing that I have here says the question is not whether families value Liberty beyond athletics, because they do. They love Liberty. They want to be here, but whether Liberty will meet family expectations before scholars reach the point where athletics becomes non-negotiable. So we definitely want to keep that in mind. And parents also explicitly raise concerns about college exposure, scholarships, experience, and self-discipline tied to athletics. So, you know, that it signals that delaying decisions increase the likelihood that families will look elsewhere. A lot of our families have invested a lot of time, money into their scholars to be able to compete with sports. So they definitely want to have Liberty as an option to continue the path for their child. So while this matters now, families share that while athletics may not be the only factor in school choice, the absence of a clear plan by middle school is enough to trigger a decision to leave. The cost of waiting is not just financial. It's lost trust, lost scholars, and lost momentum. So if we look at the last slide, this is a decision that's going to reach far beyond the scholars that we see today. What we build today shapes the experience of future scholars we have not yet met. This investment ensures Liberty is not reacting to growth, but leading it with intention, vision, and purpose. So in closing, I want to just share that our families love Liberty, but of course they're going to love their child even more. And it may look different from many different families, but they all want the best for their child. And sports is, as we've all seen growing up, we know that, especially serving the Title I community, we know that sports is one of the key things that's going to be the tool that's going to keep a lot of our kids out of trouble. It's going to build them to be better people. Growing up, just thinking about me personally, I was definitely a quiet person, but on the football field, I was a different person. My teachers always told me, like, I don't know that person that I saw out there Friday night. It just brings out the leadership in you. It shows the discipline that you have. So I just definitely want to make sure that I do my part in advocating for athletics here at Liberty. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So I know this is a lot of information to digest, and so we are not asking for any official action today. I don't imagine we would have any official action even in March. That would probably, pending our board election, that sort of thing, in terms of composition of the board. But looking at the month of May is definitely, we need to have a codified plan. That's our staff recommendation. And so I think this conversation should be ongoing. Would love to invite Mr. Butler back so that he can give some additional updates as he continues to find out additional information. But I love the visual at the very end.
It's manifested.
Manifested, yeah. So how about we do this as an action step? As there are questions that you go off and think about, if you can email those, text them, get those to Ms. Hanson or myself, because this is not the end and be done. This conversation will keep going, and Ms. Douglas is our board liaison for that part of the academics task force.
Okay, one comment, the Quixote Foundation would be very supportive of their golf program. If you would add golf, I think we could more than pay for golf. And, and I would start that even in junior.
Yeah, I think they can start
Phase
there.
one.
Are there simply no other options than we have to have a sports team associated with our school, and then there's this? Is it a yes or no, or are there any other in-between options that we should and could consider?
There are basically I would say the model that we use now, club and travel, partnering with different entities. Those would be the other options.
Right.
Is there not, I mean, I know homeschoolers can participate with the public school.
Yeah, they could, so
Yeah.
that's a great question.
And Liberty,
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe the next meeting, what we could do, Mr. Butler, we could take this as an action step, is maybe we frame, like, here's what we found out already. We saw the piece on South Carolina High School League, but we've done some investigating of those kind of options that we know, and so that might be helpful for us to put a one-pager together, just of, hey, we know we can't do this. A child could leave 1 block a day, but hey, here's the unintended consequence that might cause with disruption in schedule. That might be a really good.
And let me just add this as a parent that has a 5th grader who is kind of in the mix with the kids who are really wanting to play sports. There is, the option has come up that they can play with other schools, but then that leaves the door open for them to attend that school. And most parents are open, well, I won't say most parents, some parents are open to leaving if they cannot play for Liberty. So I think that's where we're kind of held over the fence. Do we let you go play for somebody else and then risk losing you as a student?
I think that I'll get into as well. We run into the issue of being able to get a child over to, because a lot of the schools, if they play a sport, their last block is PE and it's that sport specific. Being able to get over to their team may run into some issues with that as well.
Especially with our longer school day
Correct.
too. There's a cultural thing, I think, too.
Yeah.
That is, significant. And that is, I think a sports program at Liberty is gonna be different from a sports program at another school. But, I know finances, we've gotta be prudent, we've gotta make wise decisions, but I think there are intangibles that are hard to put a price tag on.
This is a bit of a canary in the coal mine too, of the kinds of competition elements, to use a competition phrase, that we will encounter as Liberty begins to not compete against elementary schools, who feel like Liberty has held its own ground and thrived at the value proposition at the PA and EA level, but as you get up to that middle and high school level, especially with the size of some of the schools in Sumter and the diversity of offerings, the pathways become much more nuanced, and this is, athletics is not gonna be the only one of the elements that is gonna drive a decision. You're at the high school level and you wanna be in the IB program at Sumter High, because it's its own little dynamic, then that's.
We've gotta come up with, I think the stance the board has to take is, in all the schools we visited, right? Cause a couple, Dexter, Ms. Knopf, we visited other schools that had full build out. Staff needs to follow what the board stance is on the identity of the school's, what's the DNA of this school gonna be, right? We just gotta put a stake in the ground. Hey, this is a non-negotiable, this is deviating from our mission, this is gonna be a piece of our whole child, right? And I think once we get that from the May meeting, then we'll be able to run with in terms of budgetary decisions and, because there's no way that we can't offer something. The question is, what are we gonna offer? How can we offer? And so this conversation will be continuing. Thank you, Mr. Butler, for arriving at this point, right?
Yes.
Journey to excellence
Thank
has
you
the
for your,
finish line.
for
This
your
is-
research.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Go ahead.
Based on Liberty's size, did you look at what level would that place Liberty at if we were like at the public school? So is it
With the new realignment, we would be 1A.
a 1A?
Quick question, just for clarity. Phase 1 rollout, that would be 7th grade, but it would not be under the SCHS. Okay, is that what normally is happening for 7th grade?
Yes, so
Okay,
middle school
alright.
sports are not, even in speaking with the high school league, they said that you kind of limit yourself
Okay.
trying to compete, trying to do things under the auspices of the high school league. So it would be better to just use the, collaborate with the schools in your district.
For 7th grade, okay.
One more question. Have you had any conversations with USC Sumter related to their, I know that USC Sumter is in the midst of kind of building out an athletics program focus, you know, that really is expanding offerings, and I'm curious their experiences in bringing new sports to play and the facilities and everything that goes with it might be an interesting, if you haven't had those conversations yet. Okay.
Well, yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll take that as a action step, USC Sumter, Ms. Hanson. All right, this conversation will keep going. You have all of our org goal data that has been provided. Long story short, all of our goals are on track except for our proficiency, which again, this is middle of the year, so we are right at 54-ish% when you average everything together. But you do have the individual class breakdowns, you have all of our data from Family Engagement Survey. If it's one document that I would encourage you all to process, it's the staff survey. It's a new platform we're using this year. It's part of Charter School Growth Fund. At the board meeting on Monday, you're gonna get a full presentation from the academy directors on their state of the school. So I'm gonna defer to them. Last you have is the first succession planning document. That is the other document that I would ask that you please process, read over. You've gotten a lot, but those are the two big ones. Mrs. Rauschenbach and Mrs. Chandler are taking the lead on succession planning through Charter School Growth Fund. And you have the legacy plan document that is, that's the deliverable right now. But coming in the next couple of months, there'll be a formal plan that's presented to the board for acceptance. All right, there are no other pieces of information on our end, Ms. Chandler.
Okay. Well, do any board directors have suggestions for future agenda items? I feel like we have a couple that will be ongoing discussion items. And do want to thank you, Ms. Butler, for doing all that research and bringing this issue to the forefront as well. Dr. Ivy, do you want to recap any recommendations moving forward? Or?
Yeah, Ms. Hanson can tag team with me, but we do have some, a one-pager on Mr. Butler's side of what we've already investigated and found to be true, so that we can put those questions quickly at ease before the next meeting happens. We're going to plant the seed with Emily at USC Sumter, who is our go-to on that team for all things sports. And board
Reword the
directors.
intentionality of the homework to be
Yes.
non-specific.
Just don't put your name on it and turn it in to get the 10 points.
No.
Yes.
It was the old, the SAT, they used to say you got 400 points for putting
Right.
your name on it.
Yes, and then we have 2 documents that each committee member is gonna process fully and send any questions our way.
Okay. And I think that will pretty much take care of us. I want to thank everyone for your time today. And with there being no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you.